Hey there, Math 126 fans. I'm Dr. Andy Lovelace. Long time, 20 years of teaching at the University of Washington. I've taught over 20,000 students, and I've taught Math 126 many times. I'm trying to make some videos just to bring some joy back into your learning. We get so hung up on the grades and doing well and all these things that I thought, here's something, a way I could help students that would make me feel better and hopefully make you feel better. So I'm going to talk through Exam 1 material. I hope to make it interesting while I do it, and I hope to do a little quick snapshot of each topic to hopefully clear up a few things and make you do better on the test. I'm going to do, that says 4, but I'm going to do a 5-part series. I've already made the first 3. I need to make the last 2, but I thought I had done enough to do the intro. So all I want to say in this intro is my intention. I kind of am trying to think of how I could break this up. I'm going to do a little short video on vector facts. I'm not going to be able to hit everything. I'm just going to say a few things. I'm going to do lines and planes, surfaces. I'll do some 3D fundamentals, and then more 3D motion and measurement tools. To me, those are kind of, most things in the beginning of the term kind of fit roughly into those 5 categories. And I'll look at a few old exams and problems for each one. So what I did want to say is, if you do a Google search for Andy Lovelace, of all the Andy Lovelace in the world, I have the biggest website. For my first 10 years working here, I just made review sheets, and students really liked those. That was the time when people still were willing to read. Now people like videos, and I'm very happy to make them. But this is still here. So if you need practice with, like, I don't know how to do lines and planes, I have a practice sheet. I don't know how to name surfaces, I have a practice sheet. I need a summary of the facts, I have a practice sheet. Like I said, there was a time when students just loved that stuff, and so I made that. You need a summary of anything from chapter 13. It's not perfectly polished. I'm teaching this course again next term, and I plan to clean a few things up, but I just left it all here. My exam archive is here. I have solutions, all that stuff. But just, I thought I would do a snapshot. During the pandemic, this is the only course I taught. So I have tons of visuals. And so as I go through and do this, I want to show you some of them. So here's like the intersection of 2 planes. Students get confused by this. And I always say, just find 2 points. It's actually pretty easy to do. Any 2 points will do. And then once you know the 2 points, you can describe what it means to walk along there. So I'll talk about lines and planes and the things you need to find. I will do a video on naming surfaces, even though it's not a major topic for the test. Just because I find students are, they have this perception that it's hard, but actually I think naming surfaces is easy and kind of fun. That's a hyperboloid of 1 sheet. I love this visual I made years ago. Hyperboloid of 1 sheet. But what happens when you get close to 0? When it's 0, you get a very skinny hyperboloid called a cone. And then if it's negative, you get a hyperboloid of 2 sheets. And that's all it really is whether there's a positive or negative there. It really boils down to, when you replace z with 0, do you actually get a circle? And if there's a negative, you don't for k. Anyways, and then we'll talk about curves. So here's 2 curves intersecting. A big point there is, if you're studying 2 curves and they're moving along, you need to use different parameters. They don't necessarily get to the same place at the same time. If you take Math 126 from me, you'll see all these visuals as part of my lectures. Typically for every exam, I make a visual for every exam question after the exam because I just think it's fun. We'll talk about, curves that come from the intersection. This actually comes from a future course, the intersection of a plane and a cylinder. And we can find that. We can describe it. We can study it. The course itself is dry at times, but the visuals are not. And so I've started to do more and more visuals because why not? If it gets students interested in this, we can describe that. It doesn't take any time to do it. We can get its length. We can do stuff like that. Measure it. The hard part is in 3D, it's just unclear what the best questions are to ask. We're just building tools, so you get to ask the questions. What else do we got? We got 2 curves in 3D. We'll talk about like the angle of intersection in one of these videos. That always confuses students because they don't understand the angle of intersection is the angle between the directions you're going. I have visuals for that. And then the last part of this is the end of chapter 13. We talk about actual motion. This is an example for one of my lectures where I say, what if I'm standing here and I go to throw a ball? And the ball I'm going to throw is going to go this way, except there's a strong wind blowing left to right. It turns out this is the curve of motion. If I just plot the point here's what's happening. It's deflected. There's a really strong wind, and it lands over here. This is this curve. If we wanted to study that, we would need lots of measurement tools like curvature. You might want to ask when it's the highest. That's kind of what you did in Calculus 1, but there's so many more questions to ask here. How fast is it going? What do we mean by how fast? What's the acceleration? What do we mean by acceleration? As soon as you get to 3D, you have to talk about these things, and it depends on vectors. Okay? Now, we don't get to do that many fun things in this course, but we can talk about how to measure them. Okay, so that's a little motivation for, why Math 126 is interesting in my view. And then in the next videos, I'll actually talk specifics about preparing for Exam 1. All right, again, I'm trying to bring joy to your learning here. Even if you get a good or bad grade in Math 126, that doesn't mean you can't embrace learning and be successful. The University of Washington, unfortunately, has these real and perceived pressures. But you have a path. You have a path to success. This is the thing I'm working on actively. And this is why I'm running these free review sessions, just because I want to connect more with all of you and show you that we care about you doing well and try to see if we can work together to find better paths for students and also just to enjoy this. It is fun to learn. All right. Thanks for listening.